Mikhail Shneyder is the founder and chief executive officer of Nightingale Education Group, a mission-driven organization focused on innovative healthcare workforce development across the entire professional continua, from certificate programs to graduate studies to reskilling and upskilling through continuing education. From 2012 until 2023, Shneyder served as the first president of Nightingale College, a higher learning institution dedicated to closing educational equity gaps and creating geographic, socioeconomic, and demographic access to the nursing profession throughout the United States. A registered nurse for more than 25 years, Shneyder has a wealth of management experience in post-secondary education for health professions and healthcare delivery services. He is a published academic author, conference speaker, and guest lecturer specializing in strategic planning, organizational development, forecasting, and management. Shneyder holds a Master's of Business Administration degree from the University of California at Berkeley's Haas School of Business, and now an honorary doctorate from Nightingale College. Now I would like to invite newly minted Dr. Mikhail Shneyder to deliver our keynote address.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the introduction, Dr. Olson, and what an incredible honor. I'm just humbled to be wearing these regalia, and I extend my deepest gratitude to Charles and the rest of the board for bestowing this award upon me. I'd like to thank you all for being here, commemorating this day and rejoicing together in the accomplishments of this incredible group of people. I'm thrilled to see my family here celebrating this momentous occasion with me. My dad, Arkady, is right there, and Mom, Rosa, who sacrificed so much for their eldest son's dreams. My younger brother, Eugene, right there, who at a very young age had to forge his own way in an unfamiliar land. My mother-in-law, Audrey, she's right there, who never failed to love her son and then extended that love to me. Thank you for being here. And of course, my husband, Jim, who shone his very bright light in my darkest days when we first met, and for nearly 25 years now, unyieldingly supported me in all my passions endeavors. Without all these wonderful people in my life, this whole celebration would not have been a reality. To all of you, my debt of gratitude could never be fully repaid. My fellow collaborators, there you are, I see some of you over there. Your passion, your commitment, your impact never ceases to amaze me. So thank you so much for being on this journey alongside me. And I share this honor with you, all of you. So thank you, thank you. Now, all of us being here today at Nightingale College's graduation celebration was an utter improbability not too long ago. My standing here before you accepting this honorary doctorate and delivering this keynote address, by all calculations, should have never happened. And yet, here we are. So please indulge me for a few minutes while together we explore how this seemingly impossible became this epic. How about that? You're with me? Let's do it. So, for as long as I can remember myself, I dreamt of peace. I yearned for peace. I dreamt of a better life, a better world, something I know we all desire. And for the longest time, paralyzed with fear, enveloped in doubt, and drowning in shame, I didn't realize that mere dreaming could not bring by a beautiful tomorrow. You see, I don't remember what I was thinking when that picture was taken. I don't remember what I was feeling. What I remember from that time is that the most of what I felt was despair. But let's rewind a little and start at the beginning, really. As Charles mentioned, I was born in the early 1970s in the former Soviet Union. Very unusual family, multi-ethnic, multi-religion. My parents getting together was an improbability in itself. And I attribute them actually being able to get together and do it to teenage hormones and horniness generally. And then they kind of did it and then decided to figure it out, all of the rest of it later. Now, I grew up, though, as a persecuted ethnic minority in my former home of Belarus. I endured bullying since a very young age. My first memory, really vivid memory, is that in a kindergarten, I was about 5 years old, and another kid, a couple of weeks into it, came up to me, and he uttered a word that I have never heard, and then proceeded to smack me in the face with a rock, splitting open right near my eye, nearly missed my eye, and I still have a scar right there to show it. Obviously, blood has kind of gushed out of the wound, and my teachers were screaming, and they took me to urgent care. I got stitches, and then after I got home, I asked my parents what that word meant, and they didn't have a good answer. It was an ethnic slur that was used, and all my parents could say is that other people were just not nice. This continued on and on and on. In 6th grade, a kid came from behind me and knocked me on my head with a backpack full of heavy textbooks. I had a concussion. I was in a hospital. I didn't understand why the world was so cruel to me, why other kids were so cruel to me. What did I do to deserve that cruelty? I was always afraid. Always. I was afraid to go to school constantly. I was ashamed of being different because I thought, look, they know better, right? They know better. If they say those words, something must be wrong with me. That fear and that shame turned into anger, turned into hatred toward those who hated me. Another thing I experienced during my childhood, that didn't happen during my childhood. That is my hometown where I grew up at the end of the World War II. My grandparents experienced it. Horrible hardships through unimaginable things. Experiencing really paralyzing fear. The stories, my mom's mother, her parents were executed in the early days of occupation of Belarus. She was about 14. She called herself an orphan for her entire life. My grandfather enlisted at the age of 16 and was on the front lines survived through the entire war. Was a hopeless alcoholic. Couldn't get over the shame and the fear and everything that one must feel when you're pushed to kill other people and pushed to defend yourself in that way. I grew up petrified of war. Now, I was born in the middle of one. Wasn't, it was very covered. It was called the Cold War. But being constantly afraid and petrified of a nuclear bomb dropping on me and killing me and my family and everybody that I knew, that was real. That fear was real. I had the first nuclear bomb drill in the 2nd grade when they ushered us kids into the shelter, like that's going to help anything, and said, if you hear this alarm, go there. And I raised my hand and I asked, hey, can I bring my dog? And they said, absolutely not. Oh my goodness, I cried. I marched home. I told my parents I will never go unless she can go. I was afraid of losing my dog. Fear, constant fear. Then, as you heard Charles mention, my mom got really, really sick. She had encephalitis, and she spent months in a hospital. She died clinically twice, was brought back to life. She survived, she was discharged, but became really, really ill and disabled for a while. And so my grandmother and I were the primary caretakers. And although I didn't know it at the time, I was so afraid of losing my mom. And then after a while, after several years, when she started to feel better and get better, all I wanted to do is help other moms so their kids wouldn't have to be afraid of losing their parent. That was the first of pivotal 3 commitments in my life. That was a commitment to better health. Then this happened. Some of you may recognize this is the site of the worst nuclear reactor meltdown disaster in the history of the world. This is called Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a few hundred miles upwind from where I lived. We didn't know about it. Kids played in acid rain. My brother was 3. Later, my parents were told they had to move away from where we lived because he would not survive. Fear. I was afraid of losing my baby brother. All this fear, all this doubt, all this shame became despair. I was trying to seek a way out. I even thought about ending it all, but didn't want to give up. I believed that something better, somewhere inside of me, something was saying something better is absolutely possible. Something better is out there. Somewhere over the rainbow must exist. And so in that search, I stumbled into and discovered the shining city on the hill, America, where liberty and justice are for all. Yeah. And get this is what I thought. And where all people live harmoniously, holding hands, singing Kumbaya. You know, streets probably paved with gold, because why else it would be shining. I went to my parents, I was about 13, begged my parents, said, can we please move to America? Because I don't know about being here and surviving here and doing this here. My parents laughed. They're like, sure, dear. When America calls, we'll go. Well, I was like, give a boy a challenge. I went to libraries, this is like pre-Google, obviously, and researched and talked to people. And how do you do this? Got an application form from an American embassy in Moscow. Filled it out, just told my story. I said, I don't think I'll be able to survive for much longer here. Can you please take me to America? It was sealed. My parents signed the application. We sealed it, sent it off. Couldn't wait for that to come back. I actually forgot about it for a while. And I couldn't wait to leave secondary school. And there was a mechanism to go leave a couple of years early and go into a career education. And guess what? I'm like, career education, I want to help people. Ta-da! I'm going to go into nursing. Passed my exams. I got admitted. I loved going to school. I loved the science of it. I loved the art of it. I loved the compassion of it. And there was a couple of Jewish kids in the class. Yeah. And I felt like I finally found my community, a cohort that I can belong with, that actually saw me for more than whatever else the rest of the world saw. I was still fearful, though, still wishing for peace, realizing that my future would be very bleak in Belarus. And then lo and behold, right as I was graduating from nursing school, America called. It was like, hey, Mikhail. So we Got on a train, we went to Moscow, we went for an interview at the American Embassy. I described my story again, and we got granted a refugee status to immigrate into the United States. We had to get out of where we were within 6 months. It was an absolute heartbreak for my mom, leaving her parents. And then I thought, that's all right, because we're going to the shining city on the hill, Yay, life is made. I got the golden ticket. We had about $4,000, some of which turned out to be counterfeit and confiscated by the FBI in like our first 2 weeks of being in the States. Yeah, this is what we came to. I was like, where's the gold? Little one-bedroom cramped apartment, 4 of us, no air conditioner, middle of August, New York City. 90s. Lived in poverty. Had to survive. Charles described my numerous vocations already. I worked as a CNA on a night shift on a dementia unit, having all sorts of poop flung out of me, dodging, I was bussing tables in Russian-speaking restaurants. I was selling camera equipment on Brighton Beach to Russian-speaking people, sweating under the Barney suit. Yeah, my dad and I were taking turns, $1 a pop for Polaroids. And as you already heard, yep, didn't help my self-esteem whatsoever. All I wanted to do is to be a nurse. I needed a license. I didn't speak a word of English. So I was ashamed, feeling responsible for uprooting my family and then having nothing to show for it. Trying to learn enough English to sit for NCLEX. And then NCLEX, that time has come, 1996. 1996, 4 years after immigrating. I thought I had enough English under my belt to go ahead and sit for this exam, on which the rest of my life depended on. Yeah? Anybody else felt that way in this crowd? I am sure. You have felt it. I was so nervous. I was so anxious. Words just jumbled. I couldn't. I sat there for the entire time, a lot of time. I didn't get to all of the questions. I knew I failed. I, however, got out of there, quite literally smacked myself in the face, and said, okay, man, you got to snap out of it. 30 days later, minimum number of questions, I passed it. That taught me to embrace failure and push forward. My job, as Charles mentioned, was in dialysis. I moved to Florida. I got a job as a dialysis floor nurse for $17 an hour. I was just beside myself, thinking, oh my God, I'm rich. This is $34 about today, equivalent. I was rich. Oh my goodness. Life was great. I loved complex chronic patient care. I was kind of disappointed in some of my nurse colleagues that were seemingly not as passionate about it as I was. And I wanted to increase my impact on patient outcomes. So I pursued supervisory roles. I was like, just make me a supervisor. I'm going to tell everybody what to do, and everything is going to be absolutely amazing. Yeah, that didn't work. But I got the jobs. And I knew about these patients that they can lead fulfilling and flourishing lives if only their wellness journeys were facilitated properly and compassionately. They can enjoy. I was enjoying life, really, for the first time. Finally, I have arrived. I got new friends, new boyfriend, and worked 3 days a week, off 4. Was introduced to really sort of popular Florida recreational activity, drugs. Yep. One day after work, I was like, hey, yo, everybody, come to my house. We're going to have a party. I learned from Netflix later that that's called a farm party. Yep. Or maybe it was HBO. I don't remember. In any case, people brought stuff, put it in a bowl. And I thought, why not? Give a boy a challenge. You can only imagine what happened next. I overdosed. I had a near-death experience. In that experience, I was making deals with universe and whoever else was listening, asking for it to spare my life. And I was like, I'm not going to touch this stuff ever again, and I probably have some worth. And so I survived. I experienced my first panic attack the very next day. It was, those of you who have had them, you know how bad it is. Feels like your heart is stopping or beating out of your chest, like you do not have enough air in your lungs. Your palms are sweating. You're about to faint. And that was my life. That's what I couldn't deal with it really, really well. But I remembered anytime my grandparents felt any kind of hardship, for the extent that they could practice their religion back home where it was prohibited, they did it. And it brought them some solace. And that's what I was seeking. And there was a house of worship right down the street from where I lived. I walked in, I knocked on the door. This faith leader opened the door, smiled, welcomed me in, said, how can I be of help? I said, great. I finally will have some support, some hope. He said, tell me about yourself. I said, why are you here? He said. I said, I made an error, a pretty bad error. I took some drugs, and this is what happened. And he was like, oh, no, that's not good, but I'm glad you got through it. Like, okay, yes. He said, what else? What else can you tell me? He said, I'm a refugee. He's like, oh, great. Yay, welcome to America. Like, yay, great. What else? He said, I was like, I'm a nurse. Whoa! He was like, what? Man, that is fantastic. Good for you. Yay. What else? I go, gay? Yeah. Stop the presses. He says, no wonder your life is so bad. No wonder it is completely horrible. You brought this on yourself. The abomination that you are. I didn't know that word. I had to look it up. Wow. Darkness descended. I tried. I was like, I'm not going to be gay. Sure. Very simple fix. Just don't. Panic attacks continued more and more. Would not let go. Now I was afraid truly of being in my skin. Ashamed. Angry at that faith leader who I thought brought this on me. This shame, this loss of hope. Checked myself in twice into a psychiatric ward. Because as a nurse, I knew about 72-hour holds because I was ready to kill myself twice. Luckily for me, nurses were there. Other nurses were there. Seeing me as a human being in distress, in despair, providing comfort, caring for me, giving me hope. That hope became a dream of finding peace within both myself and outward. I wanted to live in peace. And then I realized something profound. In the words of Shonda Rhimes, dreams are lovely, but they are just dreams. Fleeting, ephemeral, pretty. But dreams do not come true just because you dream them. It's hard work that makes things happen. It is hard work that creates change. You did that hard work, and my road to recovery began then. I was finding wisdom rather than blame in my past failures, realizing that no one else is responsible for my happiness or unhappiness but me. I was choosing to elevate myself, changing from the inside out, relearning to breathe, to move, discovering that forgiving myself counteracts shame, and forgiving others is the antidote to anger and hatred. And I had to do a lot of forgiveness. I was starting to believe that, as with any other human being, I had an incredible, limitless potential. And that if it is peace and health that I desired the most, it was mine to build. And true passion was born. Then, in 2001, I had the privilege of standing in this room, somewhere on the balcony, surrounded by a crowd of people, all kind of different people, all ethnicities, all races, speaking all different languages. They were all there for one reason and one reason only, same as me. So despite not finding the shining city on the hill when I landed on the American shores, I took the Pledge of Allegiance and became an American citizen that day. Thank you. But that pledge for liberty and justice for all was an unbreakable commitment, a pivotal one in my life. It wasn't just words. I committed to relentlessly contribute to building a more perfect union where justice is truly for all, when life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is abound, and my own pursuit or somebody else's doesn't infringe on the same right that the rest of us have. A union where all can live in peace and harmony, and this harmony flows freely, albeit without kumbaya probably, but freely among people. That's the commitment that I made. I still had so much to learn, so much to do, so much to change. I pursued education. You heard about my degree. Berkeley didn't admit me on the first attempt. Nope. Not on the second attempt either. They're like, we don't know where Mintz Nursing School is. And your business degree is from University of Phoenix. Snobs, huh? Yeah, anyway, so I embraced that failure, learned from it, evolved, pushed forward. After the third application, I got an interview. And when the interviewer asked me what I wanted to do with it, I said, I want to have a larger impact on the lives of others. I want to change the world. And if giving the opportunity to learn from the best here, I can do that. So they finally admitted me. I loved school. Did I mention that I loved school? Okay, fantastic. Learning, I loved it, and the light that it was bringing, seeking the impact, that the impact could become larger and larger and larger. And after a career counseling advice, I pivoted my career into nursing education. I knew nothing about it. And as soon as I started learning about it, I realized how bad of a shape it was in. No access to it, outdated curricula, discriminatory policies in the name of public protection. I wasn't sure I could make a change, that I could change anything at all. I had a horrible imposter syndrome starting in education and working in education. Still had some doubt and some fear, but I pushed forward. And with the desire for bigger impact and help of my Haas classmates, we started reimagining what nursing education could be. And I started bringing that to work and implementing that. And my career has flourished. And then my third and final pivotal commitment of my life came in a very unexpected place. After an investment firm invited me to build a nursing education organization of my dreams, a nursing education organization of tomorrow. I finished my job, my old job, and then I had about a year break, consulting and doing different things, and then I was drawn to go to Jerusalem. And we did, Jim and I did go. There, I had the very last panic attack of my life. Streets were narrow. My heart was beating out of its chest. This little voice in my head was saying, "Dare you, the abomination that you are, show up in this one holy place, one of the holiest places on the planet." That was scary. I thought it was it. And then the narrow street opened, and I saw this in front of it. It's called the Western Wall. It's the wall of the city in Jerusalem, or the Wailing Wall, where in Jewish tradition, people go to pray. And I went to that wall, and I took a paper, like I saw what other people were doing. I wrote my wish. I wrote my prayer on it. I crumbled it. I stuffed it back in that wall. Did you know what I wrote? I said, I want to live in a space beyond fear. And you know what that was? 10 steps from the wall. I felt like this dark cloud has lifted off of my shoulders. I didn't even realize it was sitting there. It felt like I took the first breath of my life in that moment. But the third pivotal commitment was nothing else but committing to me, to take care of me. Because without that, I couldn't do anything else or be impactful anywhere else. So for several years after that, I pushed through the fear, finding peace, choosing to be better and kinder human being, reflecting and choosing the action based on that reflection, and committing to changing the outcome. See, our choices shape the world around us and far beyond. And if you bent your reality. You have just bent your reality. You believed, right? That you can do this, or somebody believed for you that you could do this. And then you bent your reality, and here you are. My reality has bent as well. Nightingale College was born. We continue to build the frameworks around it. Charles mentioned those. It is about innovative design. It is about walking that pathway of collaboration and evolvitude with the goal of building a better world. That's what we did. We forged the pathway to bringing health equity everywhere, to elevating education, having that impact on the communities that we serve. And now, this is what you see before you. This Nightingale Education Group, something that was born of passion, something that was born of embracing failure courageously, something that was born of pushing forward from learning from that failure, resilient going forward through all of the barriers and naysayers. There was plenty of naysayers. Everybody said this was not possible. Every board of nursing, every legislator, Department of Education, accreditors, this is not possible. Well, they should come and look at it now, because it certainly was. I was imagining our impact, collective impact, really passionately, choosing reflectively, committing relentlessly, changing over and over and over again. So here you are today, and the impact going forward, that impact that you will drive there. That's the result of this for all of us, of this relentless pursuit. For me, after innovating within for a bit, changing the stories that I told myself, bending my reality for several years, in 2015, feeling on top of the universe, I finally met me for the first time. The peace that I am, the love that I am, the light that I am, that nobody can take away or extinguish. That is who we are as human beings. We carry that light. And nothing is impossible. Dreams can and do come true. You certainly worked very hard to be here today, to realize this particular dream. This pursuit was undoubtedly epic for you. You were epic in this pursuit. And yet this achievement is just the beginning. How will you use it? How will you continue to improve yourselves and your communities? What will you change? Will you be strong enough to overcome all of the obstacles, especially those within you? Will your passion sustain you on this arduous road that is still ahead of you? Will you look up to epic people who came before you? Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Harvey Milk, Simone Biles. Will you be epic? Will you embrace failure courageously? Will you push forward resiliently? Will you imagine impact passionately? And will you choose reflectively, commit resolutely, and change relentlessly? So as you walk across this stage today, I invite you to reflect on all the new skills and competencies at your disposal. And how will you use those gifts? Will you unlock and harness your internal flame? Will you become your passion? Looking back at it all, what will be your impact? What will be your legacy? Years from now, will you stand on this stage again, like I do today, and be honored for it? Well, I, for one, trust that you will. Congratulations to you all, and flame forward.